Hello there. We are back talking about books again. This time I decided to venture out of the basement and spent some time here in our coffee room, which basically is our breakfast nook. Um, I have brought up preserving food without freezing or canning. Traditional techniques using salt, oil, sugar, alcohol, vinegar, drying, cold storage, and lactic fermentation by the gardeners and farmers of Terre Vivant. I was actually on the website of Chelsea Green Publishing, where I have found a number of the books that I have read through, and I wanted to see if they had something on growing roses. And when I searched for roses, this book came up, and they had an excerpt of it from it about making rose hip jam, and that is something I have been interested in for a while. I made sure, or at least tried to make sure, that several of the roses that we already planted and will plant are heavy producers of hips. The Frau Dagmar hardtop rose that I planted last year, which is a lovely, simple, beautiful pink rose. Um, that one is supposed to produce a number of hips, and we had actually a couple this year, and they turned this beautiful, brilliant red. But that is not the point. I found this book and thought it sounded really interesting and would be a great companion for my other gardening books that I've been reading. Um, and indeed, I have been interested in getting my hands on some food preservation books so that the fruits of my labor do not go to waste. Ordered it, been very excited for it to come, and as a result of being off work the last 2 days and the book not being necessarily dense, I read it in between one night and one morning. So here we are yet again. Um, what I thought I was getting was a guide, a how-to guide on traditional food preservation methods. And what I got was sort of a folkloric record of recipes. The story they give in the book is that an organic farming or gardening magazine in France put out a call for some of these recipes, got about 500 submissions, picked out the best half of them, and published them as close to the original as possible in content. They're not just scans and photos of people's submissions. It is organized really well by preservation methods, starting with in the ground, then going through things like drying and salting and everything listed on the cover. There are a few recipes in here I'm very excited to try, but all that being said, and honestly, I do think that if you're into food preservation, this is a great book to pick up. I would say this should not be your only food preservation book. It will not be mine, nor will it be the only traditional food preservation text I pick up if I can find more of them. I'll even try and find some vintage ones because hopefully the older ones will have had better access to people who are still running those things through using these techniques. But I'm hoping that when I get my hands on some other food preservation texts and read through, that I can use the information learned in those books to inform how I approach these recipes. And the opposite, I would very much like to kind of take a peek at what may or may not be necessary as far as content in some of the recipes that we use now. This book does talk a bit about how we tend to use some very high sugar contents in our stuff, and that is absolutely true. And I wouldn't mind making some healthier preserved foods, and some more traditional flavors, and some more international flavors, because it gets damn boring just having a very, I don't even want to call it Eurocentric. We have a very American palate, and it's nice to add new things, new arrangements of spices and vegetables and stuff. So, yeah, definitely a book worth picking up if you grow a lot of vegetables or herbs, or spend a lot of time at your farmer's market and want to extend the life, or add to the palette of flavors that those things provide. Um, yeah. So with that, I am going to get back to making dinner. I hope you guys have a good time and stay warm and stay safe, and send me some of your better weather than I'm having. All right, folks. I'll see you soon.